It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday, and I am so tired this Friday. So tired. I made it. I made it to Friday. Now I am going to collapse. It's Friday. Uh, Most of the comments this video are going to be about the awkward video because there were way more comments on that than anything this week. And I appreciate people volunteering information for that. I always know that something's good when it stimulates that kind of dialogue. Oh, I'm in rough shape today, guys. Forgive me. Okay, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/Leanna K, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it, coffee.com/Leanna K, or GoFundMe for the Men's Network. Patrons this week got my questions about how to more specifically brand the Men's Network as we start gearing up for the fall, how to organize it. So that's the nice thing about being a patron. You get those weekly, hey, have your say things. But yeah, we're kicking along. I'm gonna start pushing the GoFundMe on social media and stuff like that more soon. I'm just having a real how do I do this thing, because obviously there are pros and cons for targeting funding this way. I like people to know exactly where their money's going, which is why the Patreon for these videos is one thing. The one-on-one peer counseling stuff is the other. And then the Men's Network GoFundMe for the groups is something separate again, because people know then exactly where their money's going. They're different pots of money. It's transparent. But it does result in some choice paralysis. I understand. I asked on Wellness Wednesday if people had interest in a breakdown between self-confidence, self-esteem, and self-concept. And someone said, yes, please break that down. So, okay. Self-concept is what you think about yourself. That sounds so obvious. But if you have trauma in childhood or the teenage years, there are going to be holes in your self-concept that it's sort of, it doesn't matter what I think about myself. It's about what the world thinks. This is something I had to overcome. That it doesn't matter. Who cares? Why even think about it? It matters. Because your self-concept is, I described it once as, it's the safe room in Left 4 Dead. It's the place where the zombie hordes can't get you psychologically. If you have a sense of self and know what you're good at and what you're not good at, then you can build, you can make choices, you can develop yourself. I'm good at this, so I'm going to lean into this to help me with the stuff I'm not so good at. You know, ironically, I am terrible at asking for money because I grew up poor and there's a sense of shame there, which is why I do the cute little graphic and the repetitive help support this channel, because, oh God, it gives me a stomach ache every time I do it. I'm not good at it. And it is something that has held me back. I'm aware of that. And so I try to find people to help me with that. I know I'm never going to be great at it. I really admire the people who just go out there and say, buy my stuff, it's great. You know, that's what okay, the big YouTubers have MCNs and marketing companies and PR people and all that stuff. Obviously, that's ideal. I can't afford that. But I recognize that's a weakness of mine. And so I find a way to work with it. A strength is that I know what I'm talking about. And I'm pretty amusing. comedy is subjective, but I know how to construct a joke. I am a good analyst. So if ever I get to a point where I'm feeling overwhelmed and, okay, this is scary, I use the things I know I'm good at that I can rely on uh, to work my way through. I don't, at tense moments, I don't just spend all my time covering up my weaknesses. And what that helps me with is, I joke that I'm an asshole. It's kind of a joke. It's kind of not a joke. What that talks about is I am, one of the rarest personality types. I'm using Myers-Briggs terminology, but every personality test I take, I get the rarest type. And I don't even bother talking about Enneagrams anymore. Because people are like, you're not an 8. I'm so strongly an 8 in Enneagrams. But I'm an IN-ish, T-ish, J. The reason I say ish is ever since I started doing peer counseling work, the T has gotten weaker, and that just shows that these tests are not necessarily stuff we should rely on too heavily, especially for work. But what it did help me understand is that INTJ women tend to get a bad reaction from people because the analytical, judgmental, judgmental means decisive. Like we're making a decision. People think that's bitchy. And that is something you have to watch when you are introverted, systems oriented, which is what intuitive actually means. I hate that one. But thinking instead of feeling and judging. People think you're a bitch. And I'm like, I don't like that gendered term, even though I know it's gendered. So I go, I'm an asshole. That's how self-concept allows you to paper over or build off things you are not confident in. And that's what brings us to the self-confidence versus self-esteem thing. Self-esteem, to me, is holistic. It's big picture. It's broad strokes. It's the recognition that you are a good person even if you're not perfect. And having that awareness of your self-concept, having a fully formed self-concept is essential to having healthy self-esteem. Because if you don't know who you are, how do you judge if it's good or not? Right? And what self-esteem does is allow you to admit to yourself when you've made a mistake. Because having that healthy self-esteem, that belief in yourself, is what allows you to say, I did a bad thing, or I did a thing that was not well received. But I'm not a bad person. And so many people do bizarre things because they can't separate between did a bad thing and am a bad person. And of course, celebrity reporting, politics, the culture war, all this crap, it's all invested in turning one bad thing into you're a bad person. And so self-esteem is big picture, holistic, a general sense of who you are, and that you're self-aware enough to be able to see your strengths and weaknesses, go, I'm a good person, I know I'm not perfect. These are the things I want to work on. Self-esteem allows you to recover from mistakes and learn from them. Self-confidence is the most complicated and situational of all of them. People can be incredibly confident in one area and utterly not confident in another. And this is where a lot of the comments in, the awkward video it was a bit of an aha moment for people, which is awesome. Because, people pointed out that, oh, you can be confident or fake confidence, that narcissistic, shallow confidence, and be a shitty person with a weak self-concept. It's very hard to be a good person with a weak self-concept. And because, that's the thing about narcissism, right? Narcissists are empty inside. They have all this bravado and all this grandiosity because they really can't accept that, hey, maybe they're just average. A person with a good self-concept and good self-esteem can go, I am just average in this. For instance, I learned to code. I am average. I would probably not hire me as a coder. I can do it, but I'm slow and I make a lot of mistakes. As a user experience specialist or a narrative designer or some other, designing the actual elements of combat systems, no, I'm badass at that. But ask me to code, you're going to be waiting a really long time, because it's not, part of it is I didn't have enough practice. I didn't have an opportunity to practice, but part of it is just my brain doesn't work in the ways that make my code easy to understand for other people and terribly efficient. And maybe I'm too hard on myself, but I don't think so. I know a lot of people who are much better coders than me. I do not feel the need to puff myself up as some great fucking coder. I'm not. That's the difference, right? To be able to humble on the stuff you're not good at. Versus, I don't like the drama. People do real well. It seems the only way to get a ton of views on YouTube right now is to make really fully post-produced documentary stuff, which I love, but I don't have the time anymore. I could do that, but that takes long. Or drama. And I recognize the drama was not good for me. I don't like it. Frankly, I don't care. And so, that's part of the reason I stepped away from covering games, because a lot of the stuff with games, the more I got into the dev side, the more I realized that the shit people are freaking out about from an actual dev perspective doesn't fucking matter. I don't care if you can fuck a bear guy in Baldur's Gate 3. I don't care. I find the sex in video games profoundly unsexy. And I can make a video about why if you want, but it's my least favorite part of the so-called romance options in games. The thing that made the first Dragon Age Origins good, and even parts of Dragon Age 2 good, and where I felt Inquisition fell down, is in Origins, those characters peeled back like onions. And you could get some really satisfying things if a character hated your guts. But you saw a deeper understanding of characters, especially like Morrigan, when they trusted you. And Morrigan was a character I actually found more satisfying when you were her non-romantic friend than if you did the sex magic baby thing. Because, it said something that if you do the sex with Morrigan, it never ends happy. You're never she's got a lot in common with Yennefer in that she is at her core damaged. And she has a self-concept of being a tool, that things are tools, that Yennefer knows she is hiding her real appearance. Morrigan knows she's hiding a lot of things. And so they have a damaged self-concept. They don't entirely know who they are because they have all this power that they can cheat, right? They have a ton of belief in their own power, but at their core, they don't know who they are. Self-esteem, self-confidence versus self-concept. And because they don't know who they are terrible at forming real healthy attachments with other people. And then there are others. I mean, the Alistair storyline was so adorable because he's a nerd, and sorting through Zevran's bullshit was cool, and trying to figure out whether Liliana was like a manipulative con artist or actually kind of nuts or maybe touched by a god. You got to know the characters. It isn't you're hot. I think you're hot. I'm hot too. Let's bump digital uglies. I have zero interest in that. I don't understand. That is just an ego boost. I'm interested in the actual romance of the so-called romance option. The two people connecting and getting to know each other and having those awkward, vulnerable moments. And you can't have that if the character is just throwing themselves at you with very little. And Inquisition was very much, you're hot, let's fuck, to me. I did not find the character stories had enough depth. I felt the same way Mass Effect, you could track something over multiple games with the same character. Though I did find, because if you partnered off with Thane in Mass Effect 2, which I did in, one of my playthroughs, because Thane was fucking awesome. You don't get that deep arc. It's only a character like Garrus or Liara or Tali. The Garrus romances really got less good in the later games for me because of the way his story went. But somewhere along the line, the maturity of that first game in terms of human relationships turned into, let's give everybody the hole they prefer to fuck. And I am so not interested in that. There's no mechanic, there's no interactivity in a cutscene where you watch digital avatars boffing. No interest. And so I admit I'm really out of the loop. I don't care about the whole Baldur's Gate 3 phenomenon. I own it because I played it in early access. It was terrible in early access, and I'm not one of those people who responds to it's better now because of the sense of unfairness of most devs, AAA and indie. Look at Assassin's Creed Unity, okay? Assassin's Creed Unity shipped with some nuisance level bugs in terms of character loading models. So you had those bug eyes. It also shipped with some serious experience affecting bugs, like the brutal load times of that game. So people just shit all over it and didn't give it another chance. If that's the standard, it should be the standard for everybody. Now, they did eventually fix those issues. I think Unity is a very good game. But you can't say Unity does interesting things with crowds. It did innovative things with parkour, with the parkour mechanics. The story was very, very good in this sort of Romeo and Juliet, Assassins, Templars, and the way it tied into Rogue and the way it kind of was a handoff for, that Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I highly recommend, was the end of like the Assassin's Creed 3-4 era, and Unity was sort of the beginning of the Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla era, but it was its own thing too. But to innovate, some things are going to be rough first out of the gate because you innovate and then you refine. So most games don't get a second chance. So I'm not going to back, oh, it's so much better now, because I can't tell if I'm being manipulated by soft expectations. Is it truly good, or is it just a massive improvement over early access? I don't think anybody can really tell, because expectations psychologically impact how satisfied we feel with outcomes. That's where I'm at with that. See, I have the confidence in my ability to explain my position there. Do I have the confidence in other people being able to absorb it and understand what I'm saying? No, people just jump on. You said this one thing I didn't like. You hate this. You're a racist. You're a bigot. You're an idiot, dumb slut, bitch, whore. You know, that's what I expect from other people. And yes, that's why I always check myself of no, I don't have to accept that poor behavior. I'm not going to have lower standards for other people regarding conduct than I do for myself. Behavior matters. Period. Behavior matters. That's my self-talk. But there are other things I'm just not confident. You know, I'm not going to attempt to have, I like talking about Warhammer. I don't have confidence that I know what I'm talking about with Warhammer. I like the you know, Nurgle plague toads. That I like the ugly, like, rotting flesh monsters. That's my jam. For whatever reason, I can never remember the names of anything in Warhammer. And I like Warhammer, but I am not an expert in it. I would not be confident debating things. All I could manage is, why do you like it? Okay, this is why I like it. Isn't this cool? You know, that's about it. You know, there are other things I'm not confident in. There are certain types of clients I'm great with. Artists, authors, developers, people who make things. You know, would I necessarily take on a client? Well, I have a few in certain areas of their life, but there are just certain businesses that I don't have any expertise in. I wouldn't be confident counseling someone in those spaces. That's how self-confidence is situational, you know, whereas I find it incredibly weird that people who have not worked in the music or television industries continue to think they know more than I do about how those businesses work. That's not confidence, that's hubris. That's when people start thinking you're obnoxious. And a lot of people in the anxiety video said they saw people who seemed really confident, but then they went to like a party and they were just an obnoxious jerk, and they realized it was very superficial, and seeming to be at ease doesn't mean everybody's going to like you. Nobody's ever going to like you always. And I am, you know, I just avoid any Toronto fandom things these days because I know that there are various factions that have poisoned my reputation in those spaces. So I do not feel confident walking into those rooms. I certainly don't feel confident walking into those rooms with the type of cosplays I used to wear because I know that people have the knives out for me. Now, does that mean I think I did anything wrong? No, I just don't feel confident that I would be able to handle those situations. I would feel too nervous. I would feel too, like all the knives are out for me. And I know because PTS, don't put yourself in situations that you can avoid that are going to exacerbate your hypervigilance. You know, we all have places we are more confident in. We all have places we are less confident in. Explaining why, I mean, that's why I let, song talk about things in two women talking. I don't know. I can't tell you a good Taylor Swift song from a bad Taylor Swift song. I look at this and go, oh my God, her lyrics make me want to shoot myself in the head, figuratively. But if people love Taylor Swift, that's awesome. I don't begrudge Taylor Swift. I don't resent Taylor Swift's success. I just don't get it. It's not where my head's at. I'm not a girly girl. No one's more surprised than me that I like the Barbie movie as much as I did, precisely because, it's like, okay, Ken is awesome. Ken is me. I like Ken. And I realized part of it is I was never the one that got the girl. So to give dignity to that part, I really, yay, I am Kenough, and, I could talk for hours and hours and hours about things I'm very confident in and things I'm not at all confident in. I do not do well in traditional corporate environments. I can advise on them. I'm a great analyst. I am an amazing consultant. I can team build like a pro, but navigating predatory, toxic work environments, nope. The only advice I can give is get out of those, because you have to be a certain personality type to excel there. And I'm not that. There are certain types of jobs I know I'll be very, very good at. There are certain types of jobs I will say, get someone else. And I had a situation recently where I've been looking to get back into some convention work, in part because I work with artists and writers I want to promote. And I'm much more confident promoting other people's stuff. Like I will say, buy Calidus Chronicles Volume 1 by Song W. Erickson. It's so fun and cute and fluffy and great little, short bite escapes from reality that are just happy and pretty and shiny, and you can see the candlelight and hear the rustling of the fabrics and the hair is all curly. And, if you want those escapes, that is your book. I just, boom, do it. Watch the Better with Bob YouTube channel. Watch Arm to Aquila. But promoting my own stuff, oh God. Get it away. I'm terrible at summing up my own stuff. And that's how confidence is situational. So self-concept is essential. Self-esteem is overall holistic. Self-confidence is contextual, situational, and can change based on where you are with your life. Now, if you spend too much time in places where you are not confident, your self-esteem is going to erode. Abuse damages your self-concept, which self-esteem and self-confidence cannot exist without a healthy self-concept, without a complete self-concept. And what abuse and trauma do is they knock out a leg of your self-concept. And that's why everything else goes to shit. So hope that helped. Hope it dealt with some of the awkwardness too. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can't afford it. Coffee.com/Leanna K. And then the Men's Network GoFundMe. Please kick in a few bucks. Every little bit helps. It can be like $2. It's something. GoFundMe. Link in the description box below. Thanks for watching. And crap, I've lost the... Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.